Below the fields of North Lancashire lie the mills that made this one of the most prosperous areas of Britain. But that was a long time ago. Rupert Street in Nelson has a weaving mill at the bottom. Here in Springbank Mill, Renee Feather has spent 20 years of her life, and she's worked in textiles for 46 years. For Renee, this is the last day. The morning shift has ended at 2 o'clock, and now she's retired. She leaves the mill for the home she shares with her husband Harry, whose job is in the carpet industry.
Well, I have retired, but I haven't wanted to do. I still feel as though I'm capable of and I'm fit enough to do my job, but I have to finish. I'll miss my friends. You have your moans and your groans while you're working. It's only human, is that? But you have a lot of laughs. And then again, people will say, well, they ought to retire and make room for some younger person. All right, I accept that. But it's an awful feeling when you're still wanting to go on working. And I feel it's too much of a break from 40-odd years, and then there's a sudden cut. You're at work at Friday and you finish, and that's the end of it.
The North Valley Mill in Colne is the only mill in England that weaves denim. Today is the last day for Bill Edmondson, who's risen to be a quality inspector. He's been here for 10 years of a working life that began in 1935, when he was 14.
How is it, baby? It's all right?
Well, we've been having trouble with slugs, but they've put the new tables on and I think it's all right now.
It looks all right. Thank you. Well, Bill. Hello, Tom.
There we go.
Well, this is it. All the very best.
All the very best to you. Well, thanks very much for all your help. Much appreciated. Long and a happy and healthy retirement.
Well, I hope everything's as kind to you as you have been to me.
Thanks very much.
See you later.
See you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to be here today to honour and present an award for a stalwart of the firm. It is a pleasure, but with some sadness, because we're now going to lose one of our good friends and our good employees. In these envelopes are details of your pension and cheque, which I would now like to present to you on behalf of the company. So again, I wish you all the best for the future and a very happy retirement.
Thank you very much.
I think retirement is a good thing, in as much that after you've worked all your life, you can enjoy yourself with the time that you have left to please yourself what you do, or do things that you wanted to do whilst you were working, and you no time to do them. Simply that.
We've had to retire because we've come to retirement age. Margaret Thatcher hasn't retired. What's the difference? She has to have people to help her do her job. We can do our job on our own, but we have had to finish. And they just carry on.
Yeah,
don't they?
There ought to be if there's a limit for us, there ought to be a limit for everybody. Everybody should pack it in
fair.
at 65. And you get these old timers in government, well, they're doddering old devils, aren't they, some of them?
Their daughter Pat and her husband Eddie still work in the mill where Renee worked. Pat has been in textiles for 31 years, and Eddie has worked in the mills for 34 years. At Pat and Eddie's home, a couple of miles away, Renee and Harry arrive at tea time. This happens every weekend, an example of the strong family spirit that still survives in this part of England. Pat has made the tea and the coffee in the kitchen, and now she serves it to 3 generations of mill workers.
Oh, you have the coffee.
So you've got coffee?
Yeah, you've got coffee.
I'm coffee.
You're coffee and David's coffee.
And David's coffee.
Pat's daughter Gail used to work in the same mill, and so did her husband David, now a cabinet maker. And little Samantha is 8 months old.
No, it didn't.
They're all chatting about a trip this year to Yugoslavia, by coach, not by air.
I don't want to fly. I know I don't like flying. I don't want to fly. Tell you the truth, I daren't. No chance.
If you just went once, you'd like.
No, I don't honestly think. No, I just don't fancy.
And I mean, if it crashes, you won't feel it.
You were not keen, are you, Harry?
I'll go on a plane, but I'm not keen.
I can remember going to Mallorca years since, and it were a Dakota.
Oh, well, I think it was a quarter hour.
It took us 8 hours. And coming back, she said, we're now going over the English Channel. And it started to rain, and it came in through the door. And she to give me a car rug. It's true, is this? The rain came through the door, and she gave me a car rug to cover myself up, so I didn't get wet.
Good gracious.
When you hear of a mill having to be closed, it sort of hits you in the pit of your stomach. You feel as though it's part of your body that's been cut off.
There's only 2 left in this town, where there was mills on every street corner.
It were all textiles. Over 120, 130 mills. And in, 30 years, there's 2 manufacturers left.
Many mills have disappeared, and so have the more emotional symbols of northern life. A brass band once meant as much as a loom or a spindle, but today only 3 of them remain in this part of England.
Who was it? On the back row?
A number of years ago, if you did play a musical instrument, sort of a cornet, a trombone or something like that, and you went for a job, basically it was in cotton mills. There's quite a number of cotton mills at that particular time had brass bands. And you stood a lot better chance of getting a job if you played a musical instrument, you know, or you played in a brass band.
I started to play the cornet and then I changed to the horn. I've played other instruments like the viola, but I like the brass. I like playing a tenor horn because I can make a lot more noise from it.
I think it's a challenge, especially to keep up with all these youngsters. It's one thing. It's not like football. When football's finished at 25 and 30, the wife said you can't go again. You can still keep banding. And here's me. Well, I don't know. Let's hope I can keep going on another 20 years.
We left school at 14, and it wasn't a question of what do you want to do when you leave school or what are you going to do. It was a matter of you're going in the mill. But let's face it, there weren't much else around here, only textiles. I don't think there was a house in this town where there weren't somebody that worked in a mill. In fact, there were all families worked in mills. There was nothing much else to do.
When I started work, I was 14 years of age. And to me, it was like an adventure. It was very exciting getting up in the morning, 6:30, everything in darkness. And then my mother and father would come in and light a candle. No electric, just a candlestick. And hearing the clogs walking down the street. When you think of the clogs, the noise of the clogs walking down the street, there's a little story that is told by people from down south, down London. They came to stay in Lancashire, and they heard these clogs walking down the street, and they used to make a clatter because they had irons on. And she said, "Aren't the people round here wealthy?" She said, "Everyone here goes to work on horseback." And this is the noise that it sounded like. And it was, it was like music.
Where I served my apprenticeship, it were a firm called Walton's, and the owner of the firm were called Harold Walton. Well, he run the firm, and his brother were called Clifford. And it were at the time when Lord and Lady Docker they had a gold Daimler, and they both had silver Daimlers, both of them. And they sent for us for a meeting, and we all went to this room, and Harold says, "Well, chaps," he said, "trade's bad." He said, we're going to have to knock your bonus scheme off. And a friend of mine, he called him Jimmy Slater, he stood up and he said, well, Harold," he said, "I'll believe you when I see you and your brother Clifford come into that mill yard on a tandem." And at that Harold said, "Slater, you sit down and shut up."
Pat and Eddie's daughter, Gail, goes shopping every morning.
I enjoyed myself all the time that I was in the mill. I was there for 2 years, and then I finished to have Samantha. But I don't think I'd go back, because my career that I really wanted was hairdressing.
Gail and David live half a mile from her parents' home, and they first met in the mill.
We sort of met, and he sort of went through my mum. If ever he wanted to take me out, he sort of went over to my mum and said, "I'm taking Gail out." He never sort of told me where we was going. It was always my mum, because he were very friendly with my mum, because he sort of worked at the mill before I did. So everything went through my mum, and it were a bit embarrassing, really. Like, my mum would come up to me and say, "Oh, David's taking you out on Friday, did you know?" And I didn't know anything about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've had the phantom poet about again. She's asked to remain anonymous, but we've got to read it. It's about an ode to Bill Edmondson. Now Bill's reached his retirement, he can pack in work at last. So we'll take a little look at what he's done in past. He was born in Nelson, brought up in Nelson, and married in 46. He honeymooned in Morecambe. Is that where he learnt his tricks? He started his life in textiles for his dad as a reacher in, then served his time as a tackler amidst all clatter and din. He's always concerned about people, especially the old and alone. Tries to keep them all laughing and happy. He's never a chap you hear moan. All has been popular with workforce, how we miss his smile and his fun. But we'd just like to say on retirement, thanks, Bill, for all that you've done.
I was born in 1921, and in 1926, I was 5 years of age then, and there was a general strike on. All the mills were out. They were brought out by the unions, and this was for better living conditions, better wages, etc. And I remember vividly that, like the miners' strike of just recently, there were odd ones who carried on working. Possibly they had to do, or possibly they wanted to do. But the people there, they were then, the weavers that were working, they were called knobsticks, or blacklegs, which is what the miners call scabs today. And the difference of opinion was such that everyone used to go around, by that I mean crowds of people, all controlled by mounted police in those days. And it was a fearsome sight, you can imagine, for a 5-year-old boy to stand at his front door with his parents, and next door lived a knobstick or a blackleg weaver, and all the crowds came. They went to each house of these blacklegs, booing and hissing, and in some cases breaking the windows. And my parents, they were scared stiff that they might misunderstood our house for theirs, you see, and it was quite a sight.
Things are a lot different now to what they were, say, 30 years ago. We've got a hell of a lot of immigrants around here.
Swan Lane Mill in Bolton. The entire night shift here is Asian, and Iqbal Badat, the night supervisor, came from Pakistan. His Gujarati language was never spoken by Gracie Fields or George Formby. Iqbal came from Karachi with his parents 20 years ago, and today is known to his local friends as Ike. He goes home at 6 in the morning to a shop that's now the other half of his working life. Its door and window are carefully protected. So far, he's suffered no attacks or break-ins, but in Britain in the 1980s, who knows what might happen.
How can I describe what will happen in next 20 years is I've got fear, and I've got fear for my kids and everybody's kids, really. What will happen in this country? Talking about the third world, I think this is gonna be a third world in next 20 years, because if the government is not gonna improve unemployment in this country, instead of having a glass on window, we'll have to have a iron bar.
Pakistanis, with quite a community of them around here. 50% of them, I should say, want to be British. They want to be like us, adopt our ways. The others, the other 50%, they say, oh, we're Pakistanis. All right, well, if you're a Pakistani, the best place to be is Pakistan, not here. They want us to change too much, and it shouldn't be us who change. This is our country. They come here. If they want to be British, fair enough. I welcome them.
Well, I think enough is enough. There's mass unemployment. You name it, there's cutbacks. I think this country ought to get their own house in order before allowing anyone else in this country. After all, when you can't make your housekeeping money do, you don't ask anybody to come and live with you, do you? So I don't understand economics, but I know that much.
They're just like us. They have their home, they have their families, they have the traditions, they have their honour, they have their religions. They're just like we are, working people. And this I found more so when I went abroad. And I think that if you get to get to understand these people, try to learn their language. They're trying to learn yours, and communicate. And then we can sort out or level out the differences. Understand what they want. Then they'll understand what we want.
There's no problem now, but there will be a problem when our kids are grown up, because there's a very, very poor state of employment in this country, and there's a main aim for me to open the shop that says my kids have a good future, even though they don't have any job. They can look after this business and look after their family. As far as work concerned, I don't think that my kids or anybody else's kids have any future in this country where this country is going in.
This school is a quarter of a mile from where Iqbal works. And nearly all of the pupils come from Asian families.
I know that some of you have been to India and you've stayed in houses there. Was it the same as your house here?
No.
No. What was different about it?
Kitchen doesn't have any roof.
Your kitchen didn't have a roof on it? Oh, and how did they do the cooking, the ladies?
Yes, it was a bit like camping, yes.
That's a lot different then, isn't it, than your house here? Have you got electric cooker at home? Or gas cooker?
Gas.
So that's a lot different, isn't it, than the ones in India? So, you have to answer these questions, and it's all about your house. What is your house made of?
Bricks.
Made from bricks. What about the doors?
the Railway Hotel near Nelson, where many of the pub's customers work at the mill next door.
They say the good old days, don't they? And this is it. They were good old days. All right, the pound's depreciated, like a pound's worth only £5 now, but even then, in them days, you didn't have so much money, but at least you could make a do.
Since I left school, I've never been out of a job. The reason being, if I hadn't had a job lined up, I've tried that week, and I've ended up at the end of the week with a job, which, to me, is satisfactory. And I'm being determined, which most of these young uns these days are just not determined enough. They're just giving up hope.
Say, it were you that come in it mill with this silly, what she does now, with this job opportunity, and you do the same job as another but what's doing your job now, and he's getting £90 a week and you're getting £25 a week. Would you like it?
No, I've been on one of them schemes. I went on one of them schemes on a farm in Burnley. And I lasted a day because I went home that night and I talked to my parents and I thought, well, why should I do this job, Dad, when I can get better wage for doing the same purpose? And he said, right then, he says, get on that phone tomorrow morning and phone round whatever you want. And I did do, and I got a job.
You were lucky.
But there's some people that can't afford to have phones in.
All right, then, what they've got, mate.
You might be a very fortunate person.
But listen, if it keeps up, you've got that many kids leaving school. They know there's no work, and after about 2 years at dole, if the work come about, they don't want work because they've got used to it.
Jobs around here are terrible. They pay the minimum wage. I won't work. I'll admit that. I will not work. I will not prostitute myself for 40 hours a week for £56. I think it's terrible.
There are certain people that have just given up, you know. They don't seem as if they've got anything to go on for. And sometimes it gets you a bit down, you know. But then things do happen to buck you up, like, you know, somebody having a child or something like that, you know, and then they're on top of the world again for a bit, but they always seem to go back down again, you know. It's as if they've nothing to carry on for. They've lost all hope in a lot of cases. That's one section of the public. Then you've got the other end of the people who are in full employment. They're earning a lot of money. And it's like a town divided, if you like. You've those who've got plenty, and you've those who've got nothing.
Smith and Nephew is the biggest mill in the area, with a workforce of 870. In Springbank, where Renee Feather worked, they employ just 110. At Bill Edmondson's mill, the figure is only 130. Modern technology means that each mill needs fewer people. Today, one worker can often do what 10 did 40 years ago. And today, in this small area of Lancashire, nearly 5,000 men and women are out of work.
Well, I've been made redundant 3 times, and it makes you think now that you can't really think, oh, well, we'll go and do so-and-so, that's going to cost a lot of money, because you don't know whether you're going to be able to be working and, you know, carry on like that. I mean, you should be able to say, well, in so many years we should be able to do such a thing, but you can't because you don't know whether you'll be working.
I haven't wanted to do anything else, but the younger generation today have a different outlook. But there was a lot in textiles. When the mills closed, they vowed they wouldn't go back, because it's always been that sort of a trade, ever since I can remember. You'd have a bit of a good run, full employment, and then there'd be a bit of a slump. 4-day week, work a week, playing for warps. It's always been like that in textiles. Nobody's done anything for textiles. Nobody. And I can understand them saying that they wouldn't go back into it, but there's none to go back into now, let's face it. After the war, there were slogans up and down Lancashire, Britain's bread hangs by Lancashire's thread. It did. They even asked pensioners to go back part-time to get orders out. Got to 1950 and all the mills went to the wall. The government closed them. Nobody has cared. They haven't had a government handout like some industries have had. And them that's running today is through their own initiative. And they've had to work damned hard to get their orders, and they still do.
Bill Edmondson first learned magic from his father, and now he performs every week for charity. His retirement will be a busy one.
Hold it up. Hold it firm because it's going to go right through you. That's it. Give her a big hand. The simplest way, of course, is to find the soft spot and place it at the front. And having found the front, all you do is just come through like this. It's simple, isn't it, when you know how? You can also bring it up and fetch. I told my wife not to go to these sales, you know. It's a good job. The quick release are these Burtons, aren't they? Quick release. You're doing two things. First of all, you're raising money for charity. You're also giving people enjoyment. And most of all, you're getting pleasure out of doing it yourself.
Violence on the streets as well, well, that's getting worse because there's like 5 or 6 people ganging up on other people and like just for no apparent reason, just trying to mug them and beat them up, just for satisfaction, I'd say.
When I come out at Navy, you could walk the streets at night and, you know, not be feared of getting into a fight or into trouble. Now you can't.
Well, you couldn't blackout during war.
Well, during blackout you could walk about
you
and
walked
nobody
about,
bother
no.
you.
No.
But you walk through town now, you never know what's going to happen. You're not sure.
I think it's a terrible society. I mean, when we were young, while we were still school kids, nobody had anything.
No, they haven't.
But there was none of this, were there?
No, but there were unemployment then.
Of course there were unemployment, but there were none of this mugging and what have you.
Yeah.
Everybody seemed to be content with what they had, and they had to put. If they hadn't got it, they did without it. But today, today a lot of generation is I want, I must have.
When I used to go to a football match, and I've been going to them all my life, we used to go as a family. And everybody used to mix, and you used to get supporters within supporters. And you might have a little skirmish now and again, but nothing serious. But they've herded them into armies. It's the police that push them into, that's their supporters, and they go to football matches in armies now, don't they? They don't go as families, they go as their supporters and our supporters. This is where I think that's created a lot of trouble.
I think if people understood each other more, then I think we'd become one big happy family, and those things, atomic warheads and armaments, they'd be put in drawers, put in a safe place, out of the way and forgotten. And if you work together, collectively, you'll succeed. And if you work individually, you'll find that you'll fail.
Bolton's Oriental Moonlight Club is unusual and very friendly. It's run by a family from India, and its members are both Asian and white.
The one thing I like about this place, it's nice and warm. We're nearly all pubs round here like refrigerated. And I'm considering making myself a member where it's warm.
I'll see Norman about it. See if you take, I don't know about 93-year-old though, you're a bit risky, aren't you? Not getting much out of you.
Oh,
Hey Norman, can this Monjake Club? 93.
I'll send you a free membership card. Make you an honorary member. I'll send you a pint of mile as well.
You're a free member, Jim. You can come in when you want. And fetch your dad.
When you get to his age, you can have a pint of beer.
Jobs would be a fine thing. Even blind.
Raise your glasses, everybody. Let's give a toast. Very good, Elf. In the lifetime of textiles and working with you, it seems to have gone in 5 or 10 minutes. It does. Time really flies, and you don't notice it. I dare say when you're happy at your work, then time does go by. And I've learnt lots of things. My uncle is 83 now and he's a great philosopher. And he says what you give through the door comes back through the window. And I've given a lot through the door. And you, my friends, today have put through the window more than I have put through the door. And I thank you all very much indeed and hope you go on from strength to strength. Thank you very much.
I was born in Nelson, and this is where I've lived all my life. One has an affection for the place where you were born, or the house where you were born, or even the dialect that you have. And these are things that you treasure for the rest of your life. And I've always found Nelson as being, without going into politics or religion, I've always found Nelson interesting. It's been my home. And the countryside around here, it doesn't leave anything to be desired. We've gone to other places for holidays, but it's always nice to come back home.
We're next to the country, you know, and I like it.
Private outback, isn't it?
Yeah, and all your family's in Nelson, so, I mean, I don't want to move myself. I mean, there's places where I go and I say, oh, I'd like to live here, but I don't think, you know... I mean, I've heard of people saying, well, when I retire, I'd like to go and live at Blackpool, or I'd like to go to Bournemouth, and I've heard that they save up all their life, and then they go, they buy, they sell a bungalow, and then one of them dies, and they're left with no friends. Or they've no connections when they get there. So, I mean, I think I'll die around here, I think.
I enjoy where I'm living at the moment, but I think I would like to try and, you know, build myself up a bit, work on it. And I've always liked the south. I'd like to live down south. But whether anything comes of that, I don't really know. But as we are at the moment, I think we'll stay as we are for a couple of years.
I wouldn't leave this area, not for anything. No, I'm quite happy where I am. Of course, I like familiar places and familiar things, probably that's it, but I don't think I've ever been anywhere and said, oh, I'd like to live here. Even when I go away on holiday, oh, I'm glad to get home, you know. No, I'm happy here. And you are, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't think I'd like to leave Nelson. No. I've lived here all my life. I was born here, I'll probably die here.
In the parish church of Colne, the Nelson Aryan Glee Union, one of the best choirs in Britain, sings Psalm 121. Next to the mills there was a canal, and then a railway, and now a motorway. But two things remain unchanged: the humanity of the local people and the fields of North Lancashire, which look down on the mills that once made this one of the most prosperous areas of Britain.